could it be? But me, your man, Louie T, welcome to Rep Your Squad Week 14 in the National Football League. Lots to get to. Some great games over the weekend. Some blowouts, too, and some surprises. Surprise! I mean, who saw Drew Lock in the Denver Broncos strolling into Houston and devouring the Houston Texans 38-24, and the score doesn't even do it justice. The score was 31-3 at the half, okay? Drew Lock was unconscious in that football game. Fun to watch, especially me being a Drew Lock supporter, a staunch one at that. Anyone that's watched me over the last year knows how I felt about Drew Lock coming into the draft. Thought he was outside of Kyler Murray, and I put Kyler Murray in his own category because he was such a unique quarterback. Had him in his own category. Outside of Kyler Murray, Drew Lock was my number one in the draft last year. And I think he landed in a really good spot. There are some talented football players in Denver. And he's showcasing his talents. It's early. Don't want to overblow it. But that's a hell of a win in in Houston this week. What about the absolute showcase of NFC excellence in New Orleans between the San Francisco 49ers and the New Orleans Saints? A 48-46 thriller. Walk-off field goal winner by Robbie Goodis-Gold as time expires to give the 49ers the win in a game that was just helter-skelter, back and forth, had everything in that game. And you get the late finish with the George Kittle get off of me run to set up the field goal. I mean, that game, if that's a preview of the NFC Championship, sign me up right now. Give me some of that. I want seconds, please. Okay? Seems like every game San Francisco plays in against a team that's really good and equal of sorts has been phenomenal. The Seattle game on Monday night, the slobber knocker last week in Baltimore in the rain, and then this game here. Any team that's of any good playing against that San Francisco 49ers team is almost guaranteed to give us a thriller. Now, that game did not happen and did not come without a cost to the 49ers. They lost a bunch of players in that game. Weston Richburg, their center, gone for the year with a busted up patella tendon. Yikes. That's going to be a long road back for him. And he was a key cog in that offensive line as the pivot man. Dick Sherman out with a hamstring injury for the foreseeable future, at least 3 weeks. So potentially won't see him until the playoffs. They're not going to see D Ford until the playoffs for sure. He's out with another hamstring injury. He re-aggravated it. And this time he's going to be out longer than he was the last time he had the hamstring, which was about 4 weeks. So you're not going to see D Ford until wild card or the divisional round. If you see him then, they may have to make it to the championship game in order to see D Ford back on the field. How about the Patriots? Unable to score. And you know what? I don't want to make this about the Patriots. How about the Chiefs defense standing on its head? How about that? Now, it's not that hard these days to stand on your head against the Tom Brady-led New England Patriots offensive attack. However, I talked about this last week. The Chiefs are getting better, man. They're getting better on defense. They showed it again in this game. Whale of a ball game. Mahomes hurts his hand. Andy Reid said, it's not broken, but it's severely bruised. We'll know more towards the end of the week whether he'll play in the upcoming game this week. A big one all of a sudden at Tennessee on the road. That's not this week. That's the following week. We'll see if he plays this week or not. However, they got the win. And don't look now. They're one game within second place and a first round bye in the AFC playoffs. So are the Buffalo Bills. Look, they didn't beat Baltimore, but they stood toe-to-toe with the bully. I told my man J. Cam, man, last week, stop selling your team short. You're going to go toe-to-toe with Baltimore. You're just not going to win. And that's exactly what they did. This Buffalo Bills team, they're dangerous. And nobody wants to see these boys. Now, they're not going to do damage in the playoffs, but you're going to know you were in a dogfight if you play the Buffalo Bills. And I don't think anyone wants the Bills in the first round of the postseason. They're going to be a tough out in this year's postseason, and that was a fun game to watch as well. How about the Rams turning around their season? Same could be said for the Bears. Don't want to forget about them because they played on Thursday. Both of them now are extending their win streaks to 3 games. Both of them now in the thick of things in the NFC wildcard chase. Again, I don't think the Bears are going to be a factor when it's all said and done. I do, however, think the Los Angeles Rams will be there and have a chance to unseat the loser of the NFC North division, whether that be Green Bay or the Minnesota Vikings. So, in any event, phone lines are open. Go ahead, have at it, call in. Going to take the first call that came in. You're on live with your man, Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
Oh, what's going on, Louis? Derek B, man. How you been?
What's going on, Derek B, man? Rep your squad.
Oh, Redskins. Hail to the Redskins.
What's going on?
Hey, a couple things.
Yep.
I was listening to the pod. Good pod. Anybody else on, listen to my man Lou with his podcast. It's always good. I heard you on there, and I heard you use the F word. Fiance.
Yeah.
Got engaged? Congratulations.
Hey, appreciate that, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to talk about Haskins.
Yep.
Like I keep hearing, with JP Finley with his podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you listen to that Redskins talk.
Yeah, I do.
And they keep waiting for him to have this like breakout game where he's gonna throw for 300 yards.
Right.
Right. So, I look at this team, that offense, and once you put your best corner on Terry McLaurin, where is and you roll your safety over towards him, your little bracket coverage on him. Who is that guy that's going to give you 100 yards receiving that has ever done it or could do it?
Yeah, no, you're 110% right. I think they're a little harsh on him on that podcast in particular. I feel like there was one game in particular where Dwayne could have had that breakout game. He missed his opportunity. That was against Detroit. Terry was open a bunch of times. He had opportunities. He missed them. But outside of that, I don't know if there's a game that you could say he had a true opportunity to really light it up. And you're absolutely spot on. And that's what teams are doing. That's what Green Bay did yesterday. Anything over the top, there were 2 defenders. There was one time Dwayne threw deep to him, and there were 3 defenders back there.
There were 3 guys there. I saw that play. Yeah. I was like, man, he's just not open.
Yeah.
I mean, they can still scheme up. You right, the bubble screen. They can do that. They can move him in motion a lot. Find ways. They can run some big plays. Find ways to get up, even if it's not a deep shot.
Right.
But after the first 5 or 6 games, he's not a secret anymore.
No, absolutely not. He is no longer the best kept secret at the receiver position out of this past year's draft. And on a team devoid of real talent at the skill positions, if you're playing the Redskins, the one guy you refuse to let beat you would be 17.
And he's still a rookie, so it's not like, I mean, he's a good receiver, but he's not a top 5 receiver in the league.
Right.
Not yet.
Right.
Maybe he'll get there someday, but that's not what he is.
Yep.
And then you've got Sprinkle. Sprinkle is a 3rd string tight end.
Yep. I talked about this on.
All he's going to be.
I talked about this on the show tonight. The episode of the Redskins Nightly News I put out. I said the thing that really jumped out at me watching this Packers game, because we played against a quality defense for the first time in about a month, was that we don't have elite skill position players. Dwayne only completed passes to 4 different receivers in this game. And when you think about that, it's not hard to guess who the 4 guys were because there aren't any other guys. So, and the biggest part that I think we're missing right now, yeah, we could use help at receiver. Yeah, that's definitely the case, but we don't have a tight end. Like, every offense that is any offense needs to have a credible option at tight end. And we simply, it was comical to listen to Bill Callahan talk about Hale Hinches as one of the young players that's a part of this nucleus. I just laughed at him and said, "Are you serious? Get out of here, man."
Tell me the truth. Were you throwing up in your mouth watching J.P. Holtz run all over the field, catch a ball?
Man, you know what? I was not. I wasn't throwing up. I was disgusted, man. I was absolutely disgusted and beside myself because I don't know how many times I said it, but I'm like, I like J.P. Holtz. There's a place for him on a team that's void of tight ends because I never thought Jordan Reed was going to stay healthy. So I said, you're going to need that third tight end. And I looked at it and I said, Jordan Reed is hanging in there, Vernon Davis, and Jeremy Sprinkle. Those are your three guys. But I wasn't counting on Jordan Reed, and I was willing to put him on the IR with designation to come back. And I wanted to hold on to J.P. Holtz for that specific reason. And I know this. He's not a great blocker. I do know that. But he can catch the football.
We're used to that.
We definitely are.
Not having bad tight end, bad blocking tight end.
Exactly. So, you know.
And then Jay, I guess Jay cut him or released him because he was thinking Jay Reed was going to come back. I don't know what made him think that.
Right. Because they were all holding out hope. I mean, I think he practiced in week 2's, leading up to week 2's game versus the Cowboys. And then he practiced on Friday and Saturday and then couldn't go. And then that was pretty much the closest he ever got to the field.
Yeah, and I like Kevin Harmon. He's got potential, but he's not there yet. He's not a polished receiver,
right?
And he's still a work in progress.
Yep.
And so is Trey Quinn. He's not there yet. He's not Cole Beasley.
Yep. No, absolutely not. That's as a Redskins fan, that's what you hope for.
Great potential, but he has issues catching the ball sometimes and holding on to it.
Yeah.
But if you can get him the ball, maybe he could do some things. But you could tell he doesn't quite know which routes to run. He's real raw.
Yep. I mean,
but he's got ability. They're all just babies out there.
That's exactly what it is.
I could see, with the where it's not coming. And it's also him too. He's got to get better. But I saw that he came out 2 years early with 2 years of eligibility left.
Yep.
He should still be at OSU, competing for a national championship.
Yeah, I saw the comment. I saw the comment.
That was a fool.
Yeah, I saw the comment you wrote to a fan that was trying to talk about Dwayne Haskins not being any good, and I saw the comment that you wrote about he should still be in school and that his dad did him a disservice by letting him come out as early as he did. I mean that was my biggest.
I wouldn't have let him come out. I'd have been like, yeah, we could start making a little money now, but you get that top 5 money, that's a whole different story. And I can't believe that he wouldn't have been right there with Tua and Burrow if he stayed in school and was running Ohio State right now towards the national championship.
Yeah, no.
Putting up another 50 touchdowns.
I'm right there with you. But my biggest complaint about Haskins was the lack of experience. He hadn't played. That's why I loved Drew Lock so much, because not only did Drew Lock go through it at Missouri in the SEC against top level competition year in, year out, but he did it for damn near 4 years. So there was a body of work there.
Burrow's a fifth-year senior? He's been doing it forever. He's a grown man playing with kids out there.
Yep. So, that's the argument. So, you know what? I think there is so much promise there. I'm excited about the future in terms of some of the young nucleus, but we need a lot more help, Derek, man. We do. We really do.
We do.
Yeah. No doubt, man.
And right now, I'm an Eli fan tonight. Hopefully the Giants will pull it out against the Eagles.
Hey,
can catch up to that second pick.
Yeah, man. You ain't lying. I won't hold my breath, but I'm definitely hoping for that, as I said on the podcast, man, a storybook ending, man, for Eli on the way out the door.
Last thing I want to bring up was Josh Norman. Can you believe how better that defense looks once you got his ass off the field?
You know what's crazy is I kept defending him, not necessarily that he was any good, but like, hey, you guys want him gone so bad, but we could do a lot worse, and you've been spot on, man. It's night and day difference.
He was so bad, I think it was impossible. I think the only way you could do a lot worse is if you just put air up there, and we played with 10.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what it looks like, man. I mean, hell, we even had Simeon Thomas because Dunny went down out there, and it wasn't a total disaster. I mean...
No. He gave up a couple plays, but he also made a couple plays.
Yeah.
Jano, he was just out there. I don't even know what he was doing. And he had such a lack of confidence that he already knew he was beat. So his main goal was to not be on the camera, to make sure the camera doesn't show him. That you can tell that's what he was doing. And then have his arms like, oh, where's my safety help?
Yeah.
And like, oh, well, yeah, no, you didn't have safety help. You had man coverage on him, and you should have been there, not looking at somewhere else.
Right. Hey, man. Hey, Derek B., I appreciate you chiming in and repping your squad, man. You have a good one.
Hey, thanks for letting me chop it up.
No
have
doubt.
a good one, man.
All right, be easy. Man, that's hilarious because that's a classic Josh Norman move is look back, arms shrugged, and look incredulous like somebody left you hanging dry when it really was his responsibility the entire time. Anyhow, got a super chat from my man John Saluter. He says, can Duck Hodges take the Steelers to the playoffs? Absolutely. That defense plus Duck Hodges quacking all over the competition definitely is playoff bound. I think they can hold off Tennessee or whomever doesn't win the AFC South. And I think they're going to they're making the playoffs. I think they're going to beat the Ravens. I told you the one team the Ravens don't want to see is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they're going to beat the Ravens the second time they play, and I think they got a chance to win out. I really sincerely do believe that. They have Cincinnati. Do they have Cincinnati once more? Let's check the schedule. I guess we'll be able to do that. I got a call coming in. I want to take that call. You're on live with your man Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
Oh, Lou, it's your boy Devers.
What's going on, man?
Man, help me. What's going on?
Look, hey, CD. First of all, the people don't know. I know who you are. Rep your squad, man.
It's the Cowboys.
All right. So announce yourself. Okay, so I talked about this on the Thursday night overtime program that I figured it out. It took me a while to figure out what was actually wrong with the Dallas Cowboys because I couldn't quite put my finger on it. But I talked about it on the show, and I said that their problem is they're not running the football enough. That you've gotten past happy with your new offensive coordinator, and he is absolutely in love with the fact that Dak has total command of what's going on, and that Dak is very competent in spreading the football around and getting it to the right guys and not turning it over. And I think it's awesome what Dak has morphed into. But this is a run-first football team. If you look at the first possession versus the Buffalo Bills on Thanksgiving, what did you do on that opening possession? You ran the football down their throats, and you ended up in the end zone. What did you do on Thursday night? 17-play drive, 9 minutes of the first quarter clock, resulting in a touchdown. What did you do on that drive?
We ran that ball.
You ran the football. For some strange reason, after that, Kellen Moore decided, I don't want to run the football as much. You had 8 carries. Zeke Elliott had 8 carries on the opening drive of the game. He had 11 the rest of the game, the other 3.5 quarters. That is insane, okay? He is your bread and butter. He is what stirs that drink. He is the engine that powers that offense. And Kellen Moore has become in love and fallen in love with Dak Prescott's ability to throw the football. And I think Dak has taken enormous strides. But let's not forget what makes you who you are. And oh, by the way, the defense isn't what it was last year. So if you really want to help them, like you did, say, circa 2014 with Tony Romo, with a suspect defense, when DeMarco Murray had over 1,800 yards, you run the football, kill time of possession, and keep your defense off the field. So you kill 2 birds with 1 stone instead of throwing the football, getting your defense back on the field when you don't convert on 3rd down, and all of a sudden now you find yourself in a dilemma like you did on Thanksgiving and now on, or the last 2 Thursdays, I should say.
I mean, I don't even know what to do anymore. I'm so disappointed. I don't even want to make the playoffs. I feel like if we do, we're just going to lose, and I feel like the Eagles are going to be the same way.
Yeah, you're right. Whomever wins the division is a sacrificial lamb in the opening week of the postseason, in Wild Card Weekend. Unfortunately, somebody has to go. And even though I don't think you guys deserve to go anywhere, I think it's still going to be you. I really do. Because I think when you play the Eagles in 2 weeks, you're going to beat them. And that's what it's going to come down to. You're going to sweep them. You're going to win the division series. And you're going to win. If I'm not mistaken, and the Eagles still have a chance to do this. But right now, you are perfect in the division. You're 4-0. So your divisional mark is flawless. The Eagles still have a lot of work to do in the division. They've got the Giants twice. They've got us. And they've got you. You've got a chance to run the table in the division. They are going to fall somewhere in there. They've already lost to you once. They might, and I think they're going to lose to you again. You're going to win this division. So whether you like it or not, CD, you're going to the postseason. So pack your bags and get ready. It won't be pretty, but you'll be there.
I'm just going to say one more thing, and I'm going to let you go. But I owe some crow to that Bills fan. So I've heard him calling a few times, and I was like, no one cares. And honestly, no one still doesn't care about watching the Bills, but all the respect to him and his team. So
yeah,
my apologies and good luck going on.
Hey, I'm pretty sure my man J Cam is listening. J Cam, man, he appreciates the apology and the crow, and that's a stand-up gesture by you. Thank you, CD. Take it easy.
Man, you take it easy.
And thanks for repping your squad, man.
Oh, yeah, man. Be blessed.
Yep, likewise. So, that's my man, CD, calling in about his Cowboys. And it's been rough. And they got talent, man. And it's crazy to see how this season has gone. They're going to have a new coach in the offseason, much like my Redskins, much like the Giants. 3 out of the 4 teams in the division will have brand new head coaches. That's how bad this division is. It's ridiculous. But as I said before, and I left off before the last call, Steelers' remaining schedule. Home for the Bills on a Sunday night. They moved that game. They flexed it to Sunday Night Football. At the Jets, and then at the Ravens. They're going to win 2 out of 3 of those games. I think they're going to beat the Bills. I think they're going to beat the Jets. Matter of fact, they're going to win all 3 of these games. I'm going out on a limb and I'm saying they're going to win all 3 of those games because if they do lose a game, it'll be to the Bills this week at home. I don't see that happening. They're hot right now, but I think they're going to win all 3 of those games. They're going to go 11-5. They're going to make the postseason. So, yes, Duck Hodges can lead the Pittsburgh Steelers to the playoffs. Got a call. Going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louie T. Who am I speaking with? Hello.
Hello.
What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, Louie? Hey, this is Jay from Newport News. I just had one thing to say, and I just want your response.
Yep.
I'm trying to get on one accord with the fan base with Dwayne Haskins, but it's just hard. Like, I really don't see what everybody is seeing in the talent and everything. I heard that he's got a good arm and everything, but I mean, Jay Cutler had a good arm. Ryan Malley had a good arm. Brian Leftwich had a good arm. Like, we can go down the Rolodex of quarterbacks who had a good arm that didn't turn out right. And I just feel like it's kind of like a waste of time that we're seeing what he's doing. And yeah, he's doing some good things, but what is his ceiling? Like, we're looking right now, and it looks like the ceiling is an average quarterback. And I just feel like, as a fan base, we want more than just average. Like, that's why we left Jason Campbell and all the rest of, or Kirk Cousins. Like, we left those quarterbacks because we wanted more than average.
Right.
So I'm just trying to figure, what is the course of our future? Like, what are we really doing? Like, I really want us to get Barrows or Tua or something, or anybody, because if you got to tell a quarterback to work hard or study, I don't feel like that's a good indication of a future, a bright future for him. Okay. That's just all I got to say. I just want your response.
All right. Hey, I appreciate you repping your squad, man. Thanks a lot.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna take that one. So everything he said, he didn't say anything wrong. All right. And here's my counter to that. How did we find out that Jason Campbell was average? Or in your words, and I don't think Kirk Cousins is just average. I think he's above average. But how did we find out that Kirk Cousins wasn't good enough in Washington? Time, it heals all wounds and it solves all problems when talking about quarterbacks. If you don't know and you're not sure, give it time. Time reveals all. So what he made a point of saying that he wants, Joe Burrow or he wants Tua Tagovailoa. How you don't know that those guys aren't average? You're moving on from one quarterback very quickly, I might add, to another guy that could be just as average, if not worse. You don't know because we don't actually know what Dwayne Haskins' ceiling is quite yet. No, he has not set the NFL on fire. But again, and I'm going to make this point right now. You know who else didn't set the NFL on fire when they first came into the league? Drew Brees. All right? In his third season in the league, he had more interceptions than touchdowns. Listen to what I'm saying to you right now. Drew mother effing Brees had more interceptions than touchdowns in his third season in the league. Not his first, not his second, his third. Okay? He was bad in his first 3 seasons. You know why the Chargers decided to draft Phillip Rivers? Not because they like collecting quarterbacks, not because they wanted to draft 2 first-round quarterbacks in a 4-year span, because Drew Brees wasn't very good. And you know what happened? Time happened. And Drew Brees got better. And now we're talking about him as one of the greatest NFL quarterbacks in history. Time did that. Okay? Not everyone is going to end with a Drew Brees happy ever after story. But what I'm telling you is he could either be Byron Leftwich or he could be Drew Brees, or he could be Jason Campbell, as you mentioned. He could be one of these average quarterbacks. He could be above average like a Kirk Cousins, or he could be Drew Brees in the future. We don't know because time hasn't revealed that yet, which is why I say give him time. He does have talent. Yes, he does have a strong arm. He's shown us more mobility than we thought he came into the league with, okay? There are some things he's going to have to work on, and you're right. Early on, I don't know if the maturity was where it needed to be, but guess what? He's a young guy. I'm not sitting here making excuses for him, okay? He should have come in ready to work, but he didn't, all right? He is working now. That's what's most important. He's the leader of this team now from an offensive standpoint, and he's still growing. Allow him to grow. And again, you're going to see more changes with him. Why? He's about to have a brand new head coach. And I don't know if any of the staff is going to be retained or not. But if KOC isn't back, you're going to have brand new terminology. You're going to have a brand new coaching staff. He's going to have new verbiage. He's going to have new playbook. And he's going to have to learn everything all over again. It'll be like being a rookie all over again. So he needs time to grow and mature. You need to give him an opportunity. We're still talking about Jameis Winston in year 5 and how this guy is an enigma. He threw 4 touchdown passes yesterday and led his team from behind in an epic 38-35 victory with a hand that was thought to be broken but turned out to be severely bruised. Okay? But you know what he also did in that game? He threw 3 interceptions. That's the dilemma with Jameis Winston. They still aren't sure what to do with him, but he's winning them ball games and he's throwing a boatload of touchdowns and a bunch of yards, but he's also throwing a bunch of picks. But you know what they gave him in Tampa Bay? Time. All I'm saying is give him time. All right? You may ultimately be proven right. He may be an average quarterback, but let time reveal that. Let's not be hasty to jump to a conclusion that may ultimately backfire. And how many times do we have to move on from someone and them go elsewhere and flourish before we learn our lesson and start holding on to some of these guys and giving them time? Time, guys, time. I preach patience because it is a virtue. Let's see what we have. All right, let's get to the comment section. Seize Up says, what's good, man? What about them Ravens? What about them Ravens? They did it again. They did it again. It wasn't pretty, but it was gritty. And most importantly, it was a dub. They're 9th in a row. They now are head and shoulders above everyone else in the AFC because of the Patriots' loss. Now they're 11-2. The next closest team is 10-3, New England. But they also own the season series. So in effect, you got a 2-game lead with 3 games to go. You're pretty much sitting pretty. And let's look at the remaining schedule, because if I'm not mistaken, you've got a Cleveland in there, and you may even still have a Cincinnati on your watch as well. Let's check the Ravens' remaining schedule, because really all you got to do is win one more game out of the final 3, and you got the number 1 seed in the AFC playoffs. So let's check your schedule quickly and see. Nope, you don't have a Bengals. You already used both of those up, but you got a Jets this week. There's your one win. You're going to beat the Browns the following week too, but you're going to lose to the Steelers. You won't need week 17 anyway, but you're going to lose that game. Even if you needed it, you were going to lose it anyway. But that's nor here nor there. You're gonna roll into the playoffs riding a win streak that will be 11 out of your final 12 games of the season because you're going to lose in week 17. The Steelers will need week 17. You won't. You'll probably be resting starters. They'll get the win. But tell you what, this is impressive, man. It is impressive for sure. Once again, I want to thank you, John Saluter, for the super chat. Phone lines are open, guys. I'm going to go and read some of these comments while we wait for another call. If you're out there and you want your comment read, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air. Let's see. Young Dex says, love your podcast, man, but I'm going to need you to stop slandering my Saints, saying the Eagles were the one Alshon Jeffrey away from beating the Saints when the Eagles hadn't scored since the first. Hey, that's when Nicholas Foles does his best work. They were going to get you guys. It was coming, bruh. There was nothing you could do about it. But Alshon gave you a gift. Just take the gift and move on, bro. It's the season of giving. And Alshon felt like giving. So take the gift and keep it moving, man. Extra S says, if the reports are true about Dan, do you think the proper time to fire will be tomorrow or at the end of the season? If you want to get the head start, sooner the better. All right, that's my stance. DMV fan 123 says, I'm not believing any of those Bruce Allen rumors until I see it. I have a $5 bet that Bruce won't be fired this offseason, and I think I'll win it. I'm starting to come around. If you didn't see my Redskins Nightly News, and I left a comment pinned at the top, I'm upped my percentage. All right, I read another article, and I'm starting to believe a little bit. But again, as you said, I want to see it, and I've said that as well. I can't fully commit until I see it. Protect Sports says, I wish we got Drew Lock. No cap. Look, you know what I was preaching all off season, man. So you know where I stand. I don't have to continue to try to belabor a point that I made all off season last year, which was Drew Lock is the best quarterback in the draft, not named Kyler Murray, and that the Redskins, if they were smart, would draft him, and they didn't. It is what it is. I can't really say much more than that. Thank you, Matt LeBlanc. Captain Spartan 04 says, no, that Jets game is typical Mike Tomlin has to lose. I'm literally having nightmares about that game. Relax, bruh. Pipe down. You're going to beat the Jets. Now, you've been right more times than you've been wrong. I think you're at like a 91.78% clip when you tell me that your team could potentially lose a game and then you go out and you lose it. So you've been pretty much spot on, but you gave me a wrong. You were wrong this season once already and about Miami. Even though Miami jumped on you early in that game, you were wrong, and you're gonna be wrong about that game. You're gonna win that game. Your defense is too good, bro. Seriously, that's the kind of team that makes Sam Darnold see ghosts. I see Steelers, people. That's the kind of game where he sees ghosts. You'll be fine. Trust me. Ali Side says, Lou, my Raiders defense is hot garbage. Embarrassing at this point. Surprised we aren't at the bottom feeder in the league. Shaking my head. Paul Gunther might need to go as well. I can tell you this much. I was talking to my buddy as I was watching your game today, and we talked about the state of that defense. And you are absolutely 110% correct. Your defense is hot ass cheeks. Now, here's the problem. Paul Gunther is not the problem. It's the talent on the field, or lack thereof. There isn't enough of it, okay? You have zero linebackers for which to speak of. Your safety play has really plummeted since the loss of Jonathan Abram. Now, I like the guy that had all the interceptions on Phillip Rivers on that Thursday night. I forgot his name, but I like him. I'd like to see him paired up with Jonathan Abram. But your linebackers are trash. You haven't had linebackers probably since the Bill Callahan, John Gruden days. Going all the way back to, what's my man's name? Damn it, I can't. Kirk Morrison might have been the last good linebacker you had. That's a long goddamn time, man. Jesus. So you don't have any linebackers. Your defensive line is average at best. You need more talent on that side of the football. Yo, you need more talent on offense too. You need a lot more. Even though last year's draft was impressive, and you knew this, still a lot more work to be done. I feel like you've overachieved this year, to be honest with you. You know, at this point, being 6-7, when I thought you were a 6-10 team to begin the season off, says a lot, man. So there may be one more win in there, so we'll see. Let's see. DeMarco Williams says, man, how do you feel about Bruce Boyd again, maybe again getting the hell out of here at the end of the season, and fans can say what they want. Dwayne is our future franchise quarterback. I've said everything I need to say about Dwayne. You know how I feel about his standing on the football team. I think he's a guy that this Redskins organization can build and grow with, but he needs time, and they need to put more parts around him. Gregory Lightbody says, why did the firing of Bruce go higher for you? We'll talk about that tomorrow on the show. Make sure you tune in for the Redskins Nightly News. Leo RJSP says, Tannehill good? Mariota horrendous? How you like the Titans? I'll tell you right now, this version of Ryan Tannehill, speaking of time and giving a guy an opportunity at a fresh start and giving him a chance to really get an opportunity to be comfortable. Tannehill had a ton of pressure on him in Miami. He couldn't stay healthy. There was one season in there where he helped lead the Dolphins to the playoffs, but he got hurt at the end of that season. Dolphins fans were never satisfied with Tannehill, and for good reason. He wasn't great in Miami, and at most times he wasn't very good. This is the Ryan Tannehill that I was anxious to draft in Washington coming out of Texas A&M. This was the guy that I had done all that homework on, and I thought that Mike Shanahan was fully prepared to draft until they mortgaged the future for Robert Griffin III. This was the guy the Redskins at 6th overall was going to have to take, and I was totally fine with the Redskins taking him because he fit Mike Shanahan's stretch zone run blocking scheme to a T. The bootlegs, the athleticism to get outside the pocket and throw on the run, everything that we were looking for, he fit. And I was all in on Ryan Tannehill. And then the Redskins went after Robert Griffin III, and I was all in on that as well. But this is the guy that I thought he could be. And it's fun to watch. I'm not going to lie to you. There's still going to be the occasional mistake. But he's playing without fear. Marcus Mariota played with a level of fear that held this Titans offense back. He didn't want to make the mistake. So he takes sacks and he turned down throws and he wasn't going through his progressions fast enough. Ryan Tannehill is playing like a man that has not a single care in the world. And you know why he does it? Because he's like, man, what the hell do I have to lose? I mean, if it doesn't go well here, I'm going to be a backup in this league no matter what. If it goes well here, I got a chance to be the starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. So I'm going to just come out here and I'm going to let it rip. I got a hell of a running back in the backfield in Derrick Henry that nobody wants to tackle. I got a couple of studs at receiver. A.J. Brown is starting to really emerge as the clear-cut number one in Tennessee. I still like Corey Davis. Even though Humphreys didn't play last game, like him as a third option. They've got 97 tight ends, not named Delaney Walker, in Tennessee. Blasting Game and Jonnu Smith and Ferkser. I mean, the list goes on. They got 97 tight ends to throw the football to. And he used every single one of them, all right, in that game versus Oakland. All right. There was another one in there. I can't think of his name. It's going to come to me because he was drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. But he's spreading the football around, man. He's not afraid to give everybody a little taste, you know? And so it's fun to watch. I'm impressed with Ryan Tannehill. I talked about it on my podcast. Anyway, let's see. Young Dex, no update on Darius Geis. Um, Gregory Lightbody says Redskins should have picked Drew Lock over Haskins. You know how I felt when the Redskins were on the clock. You know how I felt all draft season last year. Um, that's water over the bridge now. What's done is done. Haskins is a Washington Redskin. We're gonna ride. I'm gonna ride with him. But you knew where I stood last year. C's Up says, who's leading in the award races to you? MVP, Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year. MVP, I still think it's Lamar Jackson's race to lose. Rookie of the Year, I think that at one point, it looked like it was going to be a runaway for Josh Jacobs in Oakland, but now he's hurt. And I think that's going to leave the door slightly ajar for other guys, DK Metcalf. And I think right now, Boza has to be the guy that benefits the most from Josh Jacobs getting injured. If Jacobs can't come back and do anything down the stretch, I think Boza becomes your rookie of the year. Defensive player of the year, that's a toughie. There are a lot of people that are throwing their name in the hat for that. Cam Jordan is playing outstanding football in New Orleans. There are a number of guys that are getting after the quarterback this year. Trying to think, are there any... You know who's playing exceptional ball? I don't think he's going to win it again. Darius Leonard had 2 more interceptions. On one for a pick 6 versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's been extraordinary, even though he's missed some games this season. I don't think he's going to win it. He won it in his rookie season. Oh, man. I'd have to look at some more of the guys. There have been some impactful players this year. Well, I'd have to see. That's a tough one for me right now. And then Offensive Player of the Year. I don't know if you just give it to Lamar Jackson, that too, to Lamar. But I right now, that would be my guess. That he'd take home both of those hardwares right now. Captain Spartan 04 says, Titans are missing the playoffs. They have to finish 9-7. He says they're losing to the Saints in the second game against the Texans for the division. They may lose to Kansas City too. Let's see. They don't play the Saints, do they? I thought they had the Chiefs. Let me get my information straight. Titans remaining schedule. Let's see. Nope, I was wrong. So they don't play the Chiefs. I kept putting them against the Chiefs. They played the Saints in 2 weeks, and they got the Texans sandwiched. So that Saints game is sandwiched in between 2 Texans games. They can beat the Saints. I don't think they will. I think you're right. I think they do finish 9-7. I told you they're not making the playoffs because first of all, the Texans are going to win the division. I'm with you on that. Secondly, I said Pittsburgh was going to be the 6th seed, and Buffalo's already locked up the 5 seed. So let's see. Gregory Lightbody says, that Marcus Mariota thing reminds me of Haskins, except Marcus Mariota is more mobile. Gregory Lightbody says, both of Ole Miss wide receivers are good. People thought AJ would be good. I was one of them that thought it would take a while for DK to become a viable option in this league, and he's hit the ground running. And like I said, he landed in the perfect spot. He couldn't have landed in a better place than in Seattle. Where, you get the off-schedule stuff going, and, he's a perfect fit there. Yes, Michael Pruitt is the other tight end in Tennessee. Man, they got a boatload of them, and he also made some plays. Gregory Lightbody says, you think Ioannidis can be a Pro Bowler? He should be, but I don't think he'll make it because we stink and not enough people are paying attention to Matt Ioannidis. But if you watch him and you compare him to the other defensive tackles in the league, I think you would pretty much be in consensus, in unison, that He should be a Pro Bowler this year, but I don't think he's going to get it. Let's see. DMV fan 123 says, I know it's early to be talking about the draft right now, but Albert O is always available in the third, fourth round. Would you be interested for him for the Skins? Absolutely. I don't think you're in a position where you can take a tight end. Redskins currently don't have a second round pick. I think that's slated to change after they deal Trent Williams. But I don't think you're in a position to where you can take a tight end in the first or the second round. I think the third or the fourth round is when you start looking at tight ends if you're the Redskins, because you're not in a position to take a tight end in the first 2 rounds of the draft. So I think that is the area of the draft where they should probably be looking for a tight end. I definitely believe that. Let's see. Gregory Lightbody says, this has to be the best wide receiver class since 2014. Yeah, I would agree with that. Was 2014 Mike Evans and Odell Beckham and all of those guys and Kelvin Benjamin, was that 2014? Or was that 2013? I can't quite remember. But whatever draft that was with Kelvin Benjamin as a 1,000-yard receiver in his rookie season, Mike Evans as a 1,000-yard receiver in his rookie season, and Odell Beckham as a 1,000-yard receiver in his rookie season, that's the draft that I'm thinking of. Was that the 14 or the 13 draft? I'm going to say that was the 14 draft. May have been the 13 draft, though. Feels like the 13 draft. Somebody help me out with that. Anyway, Storm says, you think a new NFL era is coming with all of these mobile QBs destroying the league, or will this just be a fad and pocket passers start to dominate again? I'm going to hold that comment. Got a call, going to take it. You're on live with your man, Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
What's going on, Lou? It's JP. How you doing?
What's going on, JP?
Good. I got off work, man. It's raining like balls out here.
Hey, be safe out there, man.
I am. Listen, wanted to talk a little bit about the Redskins season, what we should do going forward. I'm more going to talk about, I wanted to ask this. We talk a lot about the draft and who we want as our head coach, who we want to take over in the front office. Mm-hmm. We haven't really gotten a chance to talk about free agency. Do you think if we get rid of Bruce, if we get rid of Bruce, are there any free agent targets out there that you might be interested in?
That's a good question. I haven't even taken a look at free agency. We're going to have a ton of cap space, but I honestly don't even know who's going to be a free agent. I think it's hard to look at free agency at this moment because the season's not over yet. Whereas with the college football season, it's almost done now. If a guy feels like his future is in the NFL, he doesn't have to play in a bowl game. So barring, some kind of catastrophe working out, who's healthy, who's going to be available, that sort of thing. With the NFL, you still got almost a month left for football, and anything could happen between now and then. But I haven't even taken a look at the free agency crop yet, other than the quarterback position. That's the only position that I've taken a hard, long look at and looked at the guys that will be available this offseason potentially. So that's something that I'll have to do over the next couple of weeks, kind of take a look at that, because you're absolutely right that free agency comes before the draft. A lot of people forget that. And you go into the offseason thinking, oh, this is what we need in the draft. We need a tight end, we need a tackle, we need a corner, we need a receiver. And then you go knock out tight end and corner in free agency. That becomes needs that have been already taken care of. You don't need that in the draft all of a sudden. So free agency comes before the draft. So that is something that we need to take a look at. I agree.
Yeah, I think there are a couple things. One, we need the number one big need we need to position that we need to fill is tight end. Jordan Reed probably done his career is probably over at this point with the concussion. He may just medically retire. Vernon Davis is probably on his last legs. He's definitely headed for retirement. So I was thinking we maybe we could sign a tight end in free agency and then maybe get another one in the draft. Maybe go like the two tight end route, kind of like what the Eagles do with Ertz and Goddard. I wouldn't be opposed to that. And the other we definitely need corner, and we definitely need offensive line because obviously Trent's not coming back. I wouldn't mind re-signing Donald Penn for another season. I definitely want to keep Eric Flowers. That's the guy that you and I were both wrong on.
Yep.
He's playing lights out since he moved to guard, so that's a guy I definitely want to keep.
Right.
Moses, I don't know if I want to bring Moses back, honestly. Scherf is a different story. I'm hoping we could get him back. I would hate to lose him in free agency. He hasn't really been all that good. But Chase Rudy, I like Chase Rudy. I think I wouldn't mind keeping him. I wouldn't mind going out, maybe getting one of these corners, I would say wide receiver. I wouldn't be opposed to that.
It's tough because it all depends on the general manager. We knew what Bruce's philosophy was, which was, I don't want to spend big and I don't want older players. If you're a GM coming into this organization, let's say Bruce gets fired and a new guy comes in, you want to kind of build this roster in your own image. And so there will be probably roster turnover. There will be some guys that will not remain, that have been Redskins for the last 5, 6 years, 4 years, whatever the case may be. And that GM will look to come in and kind of turn over this whole entire roster. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens, because if that does, in fact, take place, you could see a number of guys signed in free agency, and then the draft would become a major building block for that particular GM's vision for this team moving forward. So we knew Bruce didn't like signing older guys, but maybe this new GM would come in and say, hey, I want a couple of older veterans to be able to keep this locker room sane and also lead by example, show these younger guys how to work and what it means to put in the time necessary to try to win in this league. And so you don't know what you're going to get, but it'll be interesting to see how the Redskins use free agency with someone else calling the shots if Bruce Allen is, in fact, no longer in Washington.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I think what we're going to have, I'm going to say when we get the contracts of Norman, Reed, Davis, Trent off the books, we're going to have I think we have an additional $40 million cap space, if I'm not mistaken. That'll give us about 50 to 55, possibly 60 mil, an additional 60 mil with all those contracts, which would be a total of about 90, 95 mil, somewhere around there. But this offseason, I don't know if you agree with me on this one, this may be the most critical offseason in Washington Redskins history for us. Bruce has, in order for us to have a chance to be competitive next year, Bruce Allen has to go. Bruce Allen has to go, and we have to get a coach in here that's going to connect with these young guys we have and lead by example. Show them, like you said, show them how to win and get a couple of veterans to keep the locker room intact. And we have to have our free agency and the draft both have to be major home runs, kind of like last year. Even though it's not showing yet, I still think last year's free agency and draft were home runs, with the signing of Landon Collins and the drafting of Haskins and McLaurin, Harmon and Montez Sweat and all those guys. But it's this offseason, if Bruce isn't gone, then next year's a waste as well. And I don't know if you know this, Lou, but there's reports going around that Bruce is headed into that this might be Bruce Allen's last week as Washington Redskins team president. I don't know. It sounds true. Definitely sounds true.
I'm hearing reports that he could be fired tomorrow, bro. Like, it's getting hot, man. I just saw a Chris Russell report, and I just saw a couple of tweets from some reputable sources that say Bruce Allen could be fired as soon as tomorrow. It's getting hot in the kitchen, bro. Wow. I upped my percentage from 7. You know, I've been stuck on 7. I'm up to 30% right now, man.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's moving in the right direction. So something could be happening. It could be imminent. Remember, we talked about this on the RNN last week that the last time Dan fired his trusted confidant, which was 10 years ago to this month, I believe. 10 years ago when he fired Vinny Serrato, it was during this week, the owners meeting this week. 10 years ago, he fired Vinny Serrato and then hired Bruce Allen. Same thing could be happening now. Owners meeting this week, you fire Bruce Allen and you start looking for his replacement. So
yeah, man, that's insane. I heard about that this morning. It was 10 years ago to the day that 10 years ago this month that Vinny Serrato was fired, and Vinny was a bumbling, stumbling idiot, and he wasn't getting the Washington Redskins nowhere. And Bruce may be. I want to ask you this: do you think Bruce is even worse than Vinny Serrato, or is Vinny Serrato the biggest bumbling, stumbling idiot we've ever had in this organization?
Nah, Bruce is way worse. He's way worse because he's a bad dude.
He sounds corrupt, to be honest.
Yeah, Vinny wasn't a bad guy. He just wasn't good at his job. He was a great yes man, but he wasn't good at his job. Bruce is a bad guy. Like, I firmly believe that. I can't confirm nor deny that, but I don't think he's a good dude. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. One last thing I want to let you go. I know you got some more calls tonight. We got Monday Night Football coming up in a couple of minutes. What was it? I wanted to ask you about there's reports going around that David Shaw of Stanford is garnering interest from NFL teams, including, and the Redskins are one of them. If Bruce is in fact fired, do you think he would be a nice fit in Washington, or would you like Eric Bieniemy, the OC, the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs? David Shaw or Eric Bieniemy? Which one would you want to hire?
I would side with Eric Bieniemy. I talked about David Shaw on the Redskins Nightly News tonight, so I already did that. So check out that video if you want to know how I feel about him.
Yep.
But yeah, it would be Eric Bieniemy, without a doubt. But hey, JP, thanks for calling in and repping your squad, man. Drive safe, and I'll chop it up with you later, man. Have a good one.
All right, thank you, Lou. Have a good night. Hail to the Redskins. I'll see you for Monday Night Football overtime.
Sounds good, man. See you then.
All right, bye-bye.
So that is going to do it. Monday Night Football. Look, man, I challenge you guys out there to not fall asleep on this game, to not turn the TV off, to not go do laundry, to not go run errands. Actually sit down and devote 3 hours of your life that you cannot get back to some absolute NFC East trash. I dare you to join me for the Monday Night Football overtime when this game is done, and tell me that you watched this entire game. I challenge you to this. All right, 2-10 Giants at the 5-7 Philadelphia Eagles. It could be Eli Manning's last swan song. So there's that, right? But this is bad football, man. Doesn't get much worse than this. Tune in. All right. I'm your man, Louie T. About to sign off. I thank you guys for joining me. Thanks for the Super Chat, John Saluter, once again. Thank you guys for joining me out there. Thanks for all the calls that came in. Thanks for all the comments. And also, like this video. Subscribe to the Louie T Network if you haven't already done so. Check out the Louie T Network podcast, available on Stitcher, Google Music Play, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, and of course, the website louietnetwork.net. Share this video if at all possible. And also, if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage. It could be. Thank you for chiming in and repping your squad. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. And join me for Monday Night Football overtime if you dare. See you guys a little bit later on. Have a good one.
Louie T Network.